Hari Om. Today's lesson we will carry on with chapter 11 from verse number 18. This chapter 11 is entitled Vishwa Rupa Darshana, which means the vision or the darshanam of the universal form of the Lord. And we have seen that the Lord granted Arjuna Divya Chakshu, which means divine vision. And this Divya Chakshu, divine vision, means that basically it's not an extra eye to see the world, but it's a change in the inner vision in the mind to see the world as the Lord, the appearance of the Lord. That means we see the whole world as the Lord. So this requires the mind to go through cleansing of the dirt of ego, pride, anger, etc. So this is what Divya Chakshu means, a cleansing of the inner mind. And when Lord Krishna granted Arjuna this Divya Chakshu, then Sanjaya started to describe this Vishwarupam from verses 9 to 14. And then from verses 15 onwards, Arjuna then starts to describe what he is now experiencing. We have covered verses 15, 16, 17 in the last lesson. Now we will carry on from verse number 18. So in verse number 18, Arjuna says, Tvam, O Lord, you are Veditavyam. You are to be known as. So what is your Vishwarupam? It is to be known as Aksharam. Aksharam means imperishable. So here Arjuna is giving the highest description of the Lord, that is at that level he's talking about the Lord as Aksharam, that is imperishable, eternal. Paramam, he describes the vision of the Lord as Paramam or supreme, meaning here Nirguna Brahman. This is what he is describing. So he is seeing in this totality that this whole totality rests in the Nirguna Brahman. So he says you are to be known, Veditavyam, as Aksharam, imperishable, eternal, and Paramam as the Supreme Lord. And you are Nidhanam, you are the very refuge, or the what we call the refuge for Param, the ultimate refuge. So Bhagwan is the ultimate refuge, as he alone supports everything in creation. So when the whole creation is created, he supports the creation. When the whole creation is dissolved, it goes back again into Bhagwan. Just like gold, when ornaments are created, gold is the support of all ornaments. And when ornaments are melted, they go back into their original form, that is gold. So then he goes on to say, Tvam avyaya, Tvam, you are avyaya, you are unchangeable, you are not afflicted by time, you are beyond time, Kala Atita. So everything in this creation is subject to effects of time. Now we must keep in mind that although Arjuna is seeing the world, the Saguna Ishvara, what he is describing is that the ultimate reality, that is Nirguna Ishvara. So here he is not talking about Krishna's mortal body, because even Krishna came in a particular time and then Krishna left. But he is describing that that formless Nirguna Brahman, which he must have heard about in the scriptures and from different sages. And then he goes on again to say, you are the one who is the very Gopta. Gopta means protector. Protector of what? Dharma. You are Dharma Gopta. So you are the very protector of Dharma, meaning, O Lord, it is you who maintains the harmony of creation based on the laws of karma. So the Lord has created the laws of karma to keep this equanimity or this balance in creation. And what happens when this balance in creation is broken? Then the Lord has said in the very famous verses in chapter 4, verses 7 and 8, Yada yada hi dharmasya, that he will come back to restore this balance of dharma and adharma. So then he goes on to say, Arjuna goes on to say, Tvam, you are Sanatana, you are eternal. Eternal what? Purusha. Purusha here means the all-pervading one. So you're the eternal, all-pervading one. In various scriptures also, Purusha has been described. In Mundaka Upanishads, the description of Purusha is given as splendid and without a bodily form is the Purusha. Without and within, unborn Purusha. So this is the description given in one Upanishad known as the Mundaka Upanishad. And Arjuna concludes this by saying, Mato me, this is my understanding. So as Arjuna is being, his reverence for the Lord is increasing, he's starting to describe what he is experiencing now. So Vishwarupa also is used in the context of Vishnu's dwarf avatar, Vamana. Vamana arrives at the Asura King Bali's sacrifice as a dwarf Brahmin boy and asks for 3 steps of land as donation. Where the promise is given, Vamana transforms into his Vishwarupa, containing various deities in the body. The sun and the moon are his eyes, the earth are his feet, and heaven is his head. So various deities, celestial beings like Vasus, Maruts, Ashvinis, Yakshas, Gandharvas, Asparas, Vedic scriptures and sacrifices are contained in this body. And with his 2 strides, he gains heaven and earth, and placing the 3rd on Bali's head, who accepts his mastership. Bali is then pushed to the realm of Patal or the what we call the hell. He is thrown or cast into Patal. So this is the Vishwarupa which also is described there for Vishnu's what we call incarnation, which was the Vamana dwarf, which became the Vishwarupa. So Arjuna goes on to describe the Lord as Anadi. You are what we call without a beginning. You're without a beginning. Madhyam, without the middle. Antam, without end. So where is your beginning? Where is your middle? Where is your end? Nobody knows this. You're devoid of... So everything else in creation has got a beginning, a middle and an end. But Lord is beyond all this. Ananta Viryam, you are Ananta, infinite Viryam, power. Your power is infinite because it is you alone are capable of creating this whole creation. So who what you call other than you can have such kind of infinite power? Ananta Bahu, Ananta, endless, Bahu, hands. Again, what this means is not that the Lord has got many hands. It means that wherever we see hands, wherever you see power and hands are working, that is the presence of the Lord there. Then he says, your eyes, your netra, are the Sashi, the moon, and Surya, the sun. Now it's very interesting when Arjuna says that your eyes are the sun and the moon, and there's a reason. Because we say the Lord is omnipresent, He's there all the time. So in the daytime, the sun is there, it is watching everything. In the night, when the sun is not there, the moon arises and it also watches everything. So that's why the eyes of the Lord are said to be the sun and the moon. That means totally from morning to night, He is present everywhere. Deepta Hutasha, your mouth, your vaktram is Hutasha means Agni. So your mouth is Deepta, blazing like the fire. So the mouth, actually when we say fiery speech, so normally fire is associated with Vak Indriya, the power of speech. As there is fire, there is power in speech. So Agni Devata is associated normally with speech. So also mouth swallows everything. Just like when we put oblations in the fire, we say swaha, it swallows everything, it what we call it, burns up everything. So in the same way, fire is associated with the mouth, the blazing fire. This is what Arjuna is seeing. So how blazing is this fire? He says, Swa Tejasa, Swa, your very own Tejasa. That means it is your very own radiance. It is your natural radiance that is blazing from your mouth. And what does it do? It tapantam, it scorches the entire Vishwam or universe. So the fire from the mouth of the Lord is like the rays of the sun, which are so powerful that despite being millions and millions of miles away, we can still feel the radiance and the scorching heat. Verse number 20. The entire antaram, entire space between Prithvi, the earth, and Dvaya, heaven, is pervaded by you. So the space between earth and heaven is your body, your very body, right? So in what we call in various scriptures, it is given that the earth is the Lord's feet, the space in between earth and heaven is his body, the eyes are his, the sun and the moon are his eyes. So this is basically Arjuna also describing the same thing. So, and what we call Lord Shiva also is called Nilakanta or blue neck Lord, as the sky is blue. So which is the very neck of the Lord. So what else does Arjuna say? He says, Sarva Dishaha, Sarva, all Dishaha, all directions are only you. And how many directions are there? You must understand there are 10 directions: north, south, east, west, and the 4 in between: northeast, southeast, southwest, northwest, plus up and down. So Upanishads say totally there are 10 directions. So the Lord is in all these 10 directions. And he says, because of this raga dvesha, because of this dirt in my mind, he has looked upon the world previously as some part is favorable, some part unfavorable. But now with this divine vision, when this raga dvesha or likes and dislikes have been neutralized by your grace, he says, Arjuna says, O Lord, now I see the very same world, drishtva, I see the whole world as adbhutam, astonishing, rupam, form. Now I am able to appreciate this whole world as this wonderful, astonishing form. I don't divide the world into likes and dislikes. I see everything as your blessings. So I see creation as your blessing. I see destruction also as another aspect of you. So Arjuna also slowly begins to see the Lord as the very destroying principle. Because Lord is engaged in creation, he also engages in sustaining the world. At the same time, he is also engaged in the destruction of the world also. And Arjuna says, this is ugram. It's very difficult for me to comprehend, because when we see something being destroyed or we lose something, it is not easy. So he says, and because of this destructive aspect of you, O Lord, Lokatrayam, the 3 worlds, meaning Patal Loka, earth and Swarga Loka, Pravya Titam, they are trembling. They are trembling because they are unable to accept this destructive aspect of yours. And everybody fears loss, death, destruction, separation. So all the 3 lokas, he says, they will experience this. Devas, humans, asuras, animals, insects. And later on, Arjuna is going to see the very destructive principle of Lord working on this very battlefield. So Arjuna addresses Vishwarupa as Mahatman, the noble-minded one, to appeal to the Lord, to please the Lord. Please be kind to me. Please be compassionate to me. Verse number 21. Now Arjuna describes what he sees, how the various beings respond to this destructive aspect of Vishwarupa. As different people have different mindsets, so everybody reacts differently to a sense of destruction or loss. So he says, Amihi, these very Sura Sangha. Now he's describing one type of people, Sura Sangha. Sura Sangha means group of gods, group of devas, the enlightened ones. How do they approach you? They understand that although you are also the destroyer, yet they understand, these devas understand that the destruction is as per the law of dharma. So they have spiritual maturity to see beyond death and destruction. So how do they approach you? Vishanti, they are entering Tvam, they are coming also to their destruction, they are moving towards their destruction. How do they approach you? There is no fear in them, there is no fear in these devas. They are able to approach you with prayer when coming to face their own destruction or your destructive principle. So he said, so this is how one group, the Sura Sangha, approach their destruction because of their spiritual maturity. They come to you without any fear. Yet he says there are others, Kechit, some others who have not attained the spiritual maturity. What happens when time comes for their destruction, especially right here on the battlefield? There are so many soldiers who are coming to their end. They also approach you not out of admiration or devotion or reverence, but out of bhita, fear. So when they face their time of destruction, they tremble and they want to flee. But where can they run, as the destructive nature of the Lord is all pervading? In fact, many people also follow the path of spirituality, do all their prayers and rituals out of fear that if they do not do this or that, the Lord will be angry and punish them. So fear is okay to follow dharmic path until spiritual maturity comes. Then you can worship without fear. So children are often taught to follow religion out of some fear, but later it should be changed to appreciate the Lord not out of fear, but out of love and wisdom. Therefore, the Sura Sangha approach destructive aspect of the Lord with devotion due to their wisdom, and the second type, the ignorant ones, they fear the destructive nature of Lord. So nevertheless, either with fear or out of reverence, all those who come to their destruction, they are doing so with pranjalaya. With pranjalaya means with joined palms, which is known as the Anjali Mudra. And as they are approaching you with folded palms, they grananti, they extol your greatness, they chant prayers. Some are chanting prayers with wisdom, some are chanting prayers with fear, depending on their nature. Then Arjuna describes another group of people. He says, Sangha, there is also a group of Maharishis, great sages, like Vyasa, Vashishta, Vishwamitra, and Siddhas. Siddhas are the perfected ones, like Narad and others. So both these groups who are enlightened and knowledgeable ones on the nature of Lord, how do they approach you? He says, Maharishis and Siddhas, they approach you, Uktva, saying, Shwashti iti, may it be well, Shwashti iti, may all be well for the whole world. They are praying for the whole world. They are coming towards you for destruction, but yet they have that much of reverence and knowledge in them that they pray for the well-being of the whole world, the welfare of the whole world. Because they know there will be many calamities. And here also on the battlefield, a great war is breaking out with millions being killed. So there will be destruction. So they say, Swashti iti, may it be well. Mangalam, let there be what we call, there is going to be destruction. The destruction is according to God's law, but let the destruction be for the destruction of adharma and the protection of dharma. Thus they pray. So these Maharishis and Siddhas Stuvanti, they praise you with Stutibi. Stutibi are hymns, hymns with words that express the glory of the Supreme Being. So he says they pray for the welfare of the whole world, they pray with hymns that glorify the Supreme Being, and these words are also Pushkalabi, which means they are meaningful. They are full of praise for all your glories. They approach you singing your praises. So everyone, saint or sinner, must come to their destruction one day, but Arjuna is seeing that different people approach death and destruction in their own way, depending on the level of spiritual maturity. There was a story in the book titled Wandering the Himalayas, written by Swami Tapovan, the guru of Swami Chinmayananda, who describes his experiences of his journey. In one section, he writes about witnessing some sages meditating on the edge of a village which is surrounded by the jungle. And of course, in the jungle, there are lions and tigers. So sometimes the sages are so engrossed in their meditation that they don't realize a tiger is near them, and the tiger pounces on the sage. And as he starts dragging the sage into the forest to kill him, there is no fear of death in the sage. Instead, the sages who are trapped in the jaws of the tiger, they go on happily chanting, Aham Atma Asmi, Aham Atma Asmi. They never fear death because they always identify themselves as Atma and not this temporary perishable body. Verse number 22. Arjuna says this Vishwarupam, not only he is experiencing, but there are many others who are experiencing this Vishwarupa, as Vishwarupa is the Lord appearing as the world. Is available to all right in front of us. But due to our own impurities, we are unable to experience that Vishwarupa. So now, what else is what we call Arjuna seeing in this Vishwarupa? He says sadhyas. Sadhyas are a particular group of celestial beings, Rudra, the 11 Rudras who we spoke about in chapter 10, Adityas, 12 Adityas, Vasava, 8 Vasus. So all these sadhyas, which are a group of 12 Vedic gods as mentioned in the Puranas. Vishwe is a group of 10 Devatas, also mentioned in Vayu Puran. Ashvinau, the twin Devas. Marutas, the 49 wind gods. Ushmapas, 7 Pitir Devatas who are in charge of the Pitir Loka, mentioned in Shiv Purana. Here they are called Ushmapas because they like to eat food that is hot. Gandharva, heavenly musicians. Yakshas are spirits of the nature and they guard all the natural treasures of the earth. Asuras, demons. Siddhas, perfected masters who have supernatural powers. Sangha means group of all these beings mentioned here. So all these beings which I've just mentioned, which are mentioned in this particular verse, they are all mentioned and described in the Puranas, various Puranas. So he says, Sarve, all these groups of Devas, etc., Asuras, Vikshante, they are seeing Tvam, you, when they see your universal form. What is their expression? Vishvita, they are all wonderstruck. They are all wonderstruck like me. So as we explained before, that there are 3 phases that Arjuna goes through when he sees this Vishwarupa. The first phase was verse 15 to 22, when he sees everything as Ashcharya or wonder. So that was the first phase. So now Arjuna's response is going to change from the very next verse, which is verse number 23. So while appreciating Vishwarupa, Arjuna also happens to see the mouth of Vishwarupa, which was mentioned in chapter 10, verse 19. Lord's mouth was described as a huge conflagration of fire. So the mouth represents the time principle as the destructive aspect, kala, time, which is responsible for all 3 stages creation, maintenance and destruction. So when we look upon Lord as Kala, as creative principle, we call it Brahma. When we look upon the same Lord as Kala, the sustaining principle, we call it Vishnu. And when we look upon Kala as the destructive principle, we call it as Shiva. Now Arjuna, seeing the mouth of the Lord as Kala, the destructive principle, which brings about an emotion of fear. Bhagwan as Shrishti or Shrishti Karta, as the creator, everyone can live. But Bhagwan is Laya Karta, which brings about destruction, brings fright into people. Thus we can understand that Vishwarupa consists of pairs of opposite, both creation and destruction. And a devotee who has that reverence for the Lord, he can accept both favorable and unfavorable. So now what we call a devotee can see that creation also is divine, destruction also is divine. So just like a mother can love and care for the child, bathe him, clothe him, feed him, very same time mother is the one who punishes the child when he or she does wrong. Yet the child's love for the mother remains the same. So here now Arjuna is entering the second phase of this, his emotions of Vishwarupam, which will be described in verses 23 to 30 as bhayam of fear. So what does he say? He says here, O Lord Drishtva, seeing te rupam, seeing your form, loka mahat, the world which is great, seeing the whole creation as divine, which this whole world as an infinite great world, there is no end to your divine appearance in this world. I see you everywhere with countless bahu, with many arms, vaktra, many faces, netram, eyes, you are infinite. So bahu, numerous, bahu, numerous hands, numerous uru, thighs, numerous padam, feet, bahu uddaram, also bahu, many, uddaram, bellies or stomachs, bahu damstra, many teeth, karalam, fear, which brings about fear. Now he's seeing the mouth of the Lord with many teeth and very sharp teeth, damstra, and this brings about karalam of fear. Is slowly overcoming Arjuna. So it says, seeing all this, not only me but the whole world is distressed. As every creature, even animals, insects, all have the fear of destruction. So he says here, Drishtva, seeing loka, the whole world, pravyatita is extremely distressed, seeing these sharp teeth of yours which are destroying everything. And he says, Tatha aham, so also I am also frightened, I am also distressed. Now, we will stop here, and when we resume the next lesson, we will carry on with verse 24 as Arjuna continues to describe this destructive nature of the Lord, which is bringing fear to the unenlightened ones. Hari Om Tat Sat.